You can't sit there and ever utter the words, I'm not good at something unless you have a body of work. Create this massive body of work, use that as a data point to say, ha, that's the opportunity for me to get better. But if you don't do that action, you're never going to have the body of work for you to analyze. And so you got to be able to work despite the fear. The reason why people have things stand in their way, distractions, inconsistency, inaction, is because they're not driven by a clear purpose of what they're actually wanting to achieve in this business.
Real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently to grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. Again, real estate community, Real Estate Talk TGIF number 345. Again, we do this in conjunction with Real Estate Skill Builder and Align Premier Real Estate Solutions here, mostly in New Jersey, but expanding throughout the country. Anyway, first of all, congratulations, Elias, to Team Fast for number 2 in the country in EXP. I'm real excited because I saw your post congratulating people, and you talked about the Align team, Brett Sikora. We were number 7, and we're coming fast. So, and we're doing really, really well, having a lot of fun. But anyway, this broadcast is all about helping agents, seeing agents see different parts of different people and how we've grown our business and how we can get through some of the hurdles. And a lot of that has to do with, hearing stories. And we hear stories from you, Elias Astuto, who is the director of sales and coaching at Team Fast. I get, again, the number 2 team in EXP in the country. It's a little bit different setup, but you really get involved in not only the people, but the people. And I say that you're just human. And a lot of mentors and coaches like to talk at a screen or talk at people. You talk to people. You go to their soul. You go to their individuality of life and their life of responsibility and commitment. And I want to thank you for being on today. And as we get started, before I ask you the first question to get us started, I have to ask you one other question. And that question is, What does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday? Or thank God it's finale?
There you go, man. You got it. You got it. Thank God it's finale. That's exactly it.
I love it, man.
People are getting better and better at the question, and I love it. I love it. All right, man. So look, everybody's got a story. And, yours is no secret. It's about, sometimes the bell rings. I love that part of it and everything that you go on. So please tell us how you got from, your start to where you are now of all the great things that you do and we all get to do.
Yeah. And I really appreciate the opening sentiment that, as coaches and as leaders, I feel that I know. There needs to be this connection with a human being in order for us to be able to ask them to do the things or push them or motivate them or inspire them to do any type of KPI, metrics, stats, figures, all those things, right? I believe if you are just pushing that down someone's throat and they're not connected with it, what's going to happen is they're just going to be inconsistent because they're not aligned with that purpose. When you could dive deep into somebody's core, into their soul, into their heart, then you could tap into all the reasons why they should be doing these things and make those things a must. And so I appreciate you saying that. And so there's a long story here, and I'm going to give everybody the shorter version. And I'm going to start with how I became a leader in the real estate industry, because this is real estate talk. So it was 2016, no, 2017. I had my license. I was working for timeshare companies. I had sold real estate in Fresno, worked in Carmel to sell timeshare on the coast overlooking the ocean. And I got to a point where I was working and running a marketing company for a timeshare company here in the Bay Area. And I would, go and set up all the trade shows and run all the marketing. And I was having a lot of fun and I was traveling, but I decided that I wanted to hang my license somewhere. So here we are, 2017, our industry is vastly different than what it is now. So I go into Coldwell Banker corporate in the Bay Area in the town of Concord. And I walk in there, and my intention was just to hang my license there. Within 5 minutes of talking to the guy, his name's Don Tanagan. He is one of my biggest mentors. He was one of the biggest jerks to me, but I understand why he was a jerk to me now. Within 5 minutes of that conversation, the fire alarm goes off. And so we wait, just maybe it's a drill, something happened, but it persists and it continues to go on and it's loud, super loud. And now everybody starts to evacuate the building. So, you get a sense of worry or, like what's going on. So everybody is going down this stairway and there's thousands of people out in front of this large building. And I'm with the guy that I was talking with. Right before the smoke alarm went off, he had told me, he's like, I don't think you're a good fit for Coldwell Banker. I was like, okay, all right. And then the fire alarm went off. So we evacuate. Now we're standing outside. I said, I don't think we're done with our conversation. I think I have more to say and I want to talk to you longer. There was a Mimi's Cafe right across the street. So I said, let's go over there and have coffee. Coffee's on me. So we got to talking. I told him about my past, about being in leadership, about running sales teams, about, inspiring, coaching, and moving people. And he said, I have an opportunity for you, but it's going to be very tough for you to get this position, but I want to give you an opportunity. I need you to develop your LinkedIn, do all these things. Then I'm going to fly you out to Houston. Then I'm going to fly you out to New Jersey, and I'm going to have you meet with the vice president and president of Coldwell Banker. I said, okay. So this was a 30-day process. And on that about fifth week, they offered me the position. And I remember him telling me this. He said, listen, I'm going to give you this position. It is over the number 2 team in the world right now for all of our online leads team, and you're going to run this department. You're going to be a corporate manager for us, and you're going to run this department. He said, don't F it up. I remember him looking at me dead in my eyes and said, don't F this up. And within 7 months, I'm going to make you a world-class coach. That's what I remember this distinctly. And so he taught me how to look at the business, how to run the business, how to look at the stats, how to look at the figures, and then take all that data and use that to coach and inspire and move the people. And that was kind of the foundation of what I do now. And then obviously it grew and I met Kenny and then we, came to EXP in 2020. But that was the story that got me into leadership today here in the Bay Area. And I'll never forget it. And I'll never forget how grateful I am for Don for being a jerk to me. He was tough on me, man. He wouldn't give me answers to anything. And he pushed me to be better. And that was the start of my leadership journey here in the Bay Area.
So one of the things that you're really good at that I've seen, Elias, and thank you for that, is, the way you ask questions of people. Is that what Don did for you? Asked you questions so that you could discover what you needed to do yourself?
I don't know if it was Don or another mentor along the way, but I remember this philosophy, the good, better, and best, right?
Right.
So that's a good question. How could that question be a little bit better? But what is the best question that you could ask this person? When we're talking about human development, which is my job and that's my responsibility. Yeah, my title is Director of Sales and Coaching. What I do is human development. So I believe that I always remember this word, elaborate. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And it coincides perfectly when you're training agents to talk with their consumer. What I want to get to is I want to get to the truth.
Right.
And oftentimes people are a little fearful of that truth. But once you can get there, what happens is that you build business intimacy, you build proximity, and you build a better relationship. And so I always want to go a few layers deeper and say, tell me more, Dave. When you say that this is this, what does that mean to you? I want to know a little bit more so I understand you. And then you get people to open up. And so the good, better, best philosophy, and then elaborate. When I think about that word in any type of conversation, elaborate. Tell me more. Tell me more. I want layers and layers and layers until I find the truth. And when you're at the truth, you'll know it. You'll feel it, and it'll be evident.
So one of the things I've learned is like perfect with this, and it's actually the reason that I am so much into what you just said is that there's a book by Dean Graziosi. I'm not sure the name of The Millionaire Mindset or something like that, and he talks about why he was able to catapult himself to where he is today. And it was a conversation he had with no other than Joe Stumpf, who actually was my first coach in real estate.
Wow.
And it was and of course, reading the book and seeing Joe's name in it, I'm saying, wow, he coached Dean Graziosi. How cool is that? And he was a coach of mine. And it was the 7 whys, like, you just use tell me more about it, which is the same thing as why, or a replacement for that. Elaborate was the same thing as why. And what it allows you to do, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're along the same thought process, is we get to go deeper into why people say something. Like I try to do this on a regular basis with people who don't realize why they're going to a place. And once they realize it, it's more of a switch to get them to get unstuck if they're stuck or want to move forward to that next step. Let's face it. Everybody says that you need to take action, but if you're not taking a step rather than worrying about all the steps, it's going to be hard to get to. Do you agree with that ideal that I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I absolutely agree with this. And let's just take it for simplistic purposes for your audience. When you ask somebody in the United States of America, this is a common question, but I don't believe that the most people that ask this question don't really care that much. It's just
Yes.
greetings and salutations. How are you? I'm fine. Right. And so we allow that to be the surface answer because it's greetings and salutations. That's what we're trained to do here in the States. Hi, how are you? Wonderful. But if you were to go a layer deeper in just the context of this conversation and say, how are you really? Like, what's up with you, man? How are you really doing right now? Oh, I just had surgery on my eyes. I can't really see right now. I'm really struggling. I just found out that I had kidney disease, my kids are having some challenges at school, like whatever it is, right? Like I want to know what the truth is because then I could be a better person for that, or I could show up as a better person for them. I can help them more. I can have better conversations with them, and I can just have a better understanding of what they're actually going through. And so I think that we settle for surface level conversations. And what I pride myself in doing is being able to go deep with people and not allowing surface answers. And especially in a coaching environment, when
Right.
someone says this and that, I'm like, okay, tell me more because I'm not seeing the results. And I don't think that there's a connection here. So tell me a little bit more about why you feel that way or why that's happening or whatever the case is. And so layers and layers and layers until you can hit here.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with I think real estate agents have have a job of their number one job, and they don't know it, is controlling their own anxiety by about doing the things that they've got to do. They may have a real good confidence in themselves as human beings, but when it comes to something like this, because it's a bit different when we're talking about making the lead gen calls or doing lead gen or putting all the pieces of everything together, and what our metrics are, I think it creates a total ton of anxiety that they don't understand, and it holds them back. The tell me more, the elaboration of what they want, I believe, can help them turn a switch. And that's all about human development, as you're saying, is what you get into. How can we use that phrase, human development? How can we help the human development in our industry, in the real estate business?
Yeah, I think that this comes down to clarity. When an agent gets into this business and when an agent's looking to grow, it's not about understanding their metrics. That's one part of it, but they need to have absolute clarity on where they're going down the road. Who do they want to become? And in order to be that person that's going to sell 10 homes, 20 homes, 30 homes, how do they need to be different? And when you start to unpack how do I need to be different, I learned this from Nikki Miller. When you unpack the question of how do I need to be different, you're going to look at your life and look at your systems and look at your processes and look at how you show up and look at how you utilize time or lack thereof. And you're going to really ask yourself, how do I need to be different in order to be a top producer? Now, I have an aspiration to be that, and I get those words, but what are you going to do to be different? And if you're aligned with a purpose, a cause, a crusade, and a mission, then nothing's going to stand in the way. The reason why people have things stand in their way, distractions, inconsistency, inaction, is because they're not driven by a clear purpose of what they're actually wanting to achieve in this business. They're not aligned with who's going to be impacted by the result of their success. How many lives can they impact and change? They're thinking about the immediate. Oh my God, someone's going to say no. Or oh my God, this is hard. Or oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. But if you look and you connect with the biggest vision of this business and why you're here, why you want to do this, there should be no reason why anything stands in your way. There should be no excuses. When you're connected with whatever that is for them, for you, you'll run through a wall. You'll run through a wall. And even if it's scared, even if it's gritty, even if it's imperfect, you will continuously move forward because you are pulled by a greater calling. So many people need to look very, very deep and wide and see what it is that they're actually wanting to do in this business. And when you're there, you're connected with it. It should be overwhelming. It should be overwhelming sense of emotion of where you're actually going and what you're going to achieve. And every single challenge that you face in this business, it's part of the process and you're okay with it and you accept it and you embrace it. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about people's vision for their business. They need to have just clarity. They just need to have clarity. And that's hard for people to see, but I help people with that.
It really is hard for people to say, like, at an event that we saw each other at recently, you talked about, you talked about the two words that people need to understand and need to do is own it, right? You talked about that a lot, right? And it was really, it was cause, effect, all different things. Talk to me a lot about owning it and blame and full responsibility and commitment.
Yeah, because let's just take last year. Last year, we had the settlement. We had interest rates that were high. We had fear. We had anxiety. We had trepidation about the new norm. Well, no matter what happened in the economy, no matter what happened in the market, no matter what happened with interest rates, the settlement, you have to take it on yourself and say, I'm going to own this. No matter what is happening, I'm going to own it because the moment you start to blame the settlement, blame your sales manager, blame the leads, blame Zillow, blame them, blame them, then you're never taking ownership. You're settling with you saying it's somebody else's fault when you could say, you know what, it's my fault. If the settlement came on the 17th and I didn't do something different, if I didn't change the way that I'm speaking to consumers, if I didn't practice my dialogue, if I didn't practice my buyer representation agreement, if I didn't go through that flow and then I saw a dip in my business, it's not the settlement's fault. We're going to have more changes in our industry. It is
Yeah.
yours. We have to stand on a pillar of no matter what happens in this industry, I'm going to adapt, I'm going to change, and I'm going to be different as the market is different, right? People say, well, the market was different last year. It absolutely was. Were you different last year? We knew that the market was going to change, and we had rumbles of this for 6 months up until the date that it happened.
Yes,
So
we did.
how were you different in order to prepare for the road ahead? What was your communication like? What was your written communication like? What were your videos like? How did you show up? Did you own your visibility or did you hide because you were scared? Were you fearful of having those conversations? So you have to say, no matter what, I'm the cause and effect in my business, and I'm going to own it because when I can own it, then I'm responsible for anything that happens. And once you're there, it's liberating. It's liberating because you are the one that's in control. Nobody else will control my success in this business. It's all on me.
I looked at absolutely, and thank you for that. I look at it two ways. I looked at every change. Okay, so I've been around a few years longer than you have, and I've seen a lot of change. I've seen higher interest rates. I've seen, the collapse in the late '80s and 9/11 and all that other stuff. And I've seen it all. I know interest rates. So what? I mean, people are still going to buy homes. Now, we can't do anything about inventory, but we can do a lot about this and our attitude in there, right? And one of the things that I realized years ago from my friend John Cheplack was that taking responsibility for one's own stuff, which you just talked about, is the most important part. And it's really kind of hard to understand when people say take responsibility. And just let me explain it this way. If you're at a red light and someone bangs into you and behind you, whose fault it is? Well, that guy banged into me. It's his fault. Nope, it's your fault. You were there, right? It's your responsibility. Why? Think about it. But the point is that taking responsibility, I'm not saying taking responsibility in a way that, that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. It's just taking responsibility for everything that's happening. It's a responsibility to others how you must shift. I've talked to agents that have said to me, I'm in survival mode. I talked to someone yesterday that said, I'm done. I left that business. The craziness is out of my head now. I can't do it anymore. Okay, great. Okay, so congratulations. You found what you didn't want to do, and I appreciate that. But but everybody that's going to be in this business, that's going to be a winner, is going to find a way, right?
That's right.
They're going to find a way to do it, and they're going to have the guts or the intestinal fortitude or whatever you want to say to be able to get there and to actually do it. Now, I used the word switch before. I've used winners. I've used blame. I've used all these words. There are still people that have trouble picking up that phone. There are still people that have difficulty with, I don't know who to talk to. Is there a way around that feeling, or is that just an excuse?
I think that it comes down to a sense of lacking confidence. And, all the time, I'll hear somebody say this, right? And I coach thousands of people. I'm not good on video. Okay, cool. Show me the last 90 days, how many videos you made. Well, I haven't done many, right? Or it's been a while since I posted a video. And so, okay, I'm not good on the phones. All right, cool. Let's listen to your last 30 calls. Where are those recorded and where are those housed? Oh, I don't record. Okay. Well, I'm not good on follow-up. All right, tell me your follow-up system right now. Well, I don't really have one right now. So what people say, and it's often, I hear this all the time, is I'm not good at something. When you stop for a minute and you look at their body of work, right? And there's no body of work that justifies them even saying that. It's defeating themselves and it's lowering their esteem based on the words that they're using. So instead of saying, oh, I'm not good at making calls, I'm not good on camera, I'm not good in my written communication, do the body of work, develop that data set, and then sit with a manager, a coach, a friend, a mentor, and start to analyze that and say, how can I get better by watching my own tape? You see, we're not always going to be great on that first phone call. We're going to sound like I'm a sandwich. Oh my God, I don't know what to say. Let me know, right? It's going to happen, right? But over time, you get to find nuances, way to.
Oh, I think he's getting a call.
Dave, we still here?
We're still here, man. Go ahead. Over time.
It's the body of work, because when you start to do things over and over and over again, you're going to start to find what you're good at, what works,
Right.
what doesn't work. You're practicing. You
Right.
could post 100 videos over the course of the next year. Then you could look at all that data and say, here's what's working, here's what's not working. I don't know why I say my name every time I do a video. People already know who I am, so on and so forth. So create this massive body of work, use that as a data point to say, that's the opportunity for me to get better. But if you don't do that action, you're never going to have the body of work for you to analyze. And so you got to be able to work despite the fear, right? I'm scared every day. I'm scared to get on this call, but I'm going to show up no matter what,
Right.
because I understand the body of work is what I need to develop. So get over yourself and do the work.
I think everybody needs to understand that this is not your first rodeo of coming on a broadcast, a podcast, whatever. You've done a few before, but as you just said, there's some nerves to coming on, right? I've done this 345 fucking times, and I still get nervous when I start. The good thing is I've got my cadence set up to start and what I say and how I say it, right? Sometimes I forget what I'm going to say, but it doesn't matter because I keep going because I got no choice. I'm live here, right? So, Elias, do you remember? Do you know where it is and what it was, your first video?
It was probably an internal video to the team about like a leaderboard. Hey, you guys, here's this week's leaderboard for our East Bay producers. And I would go through every single transaction. I would go through every single new listing. And the video would be like 5 minutes. And I would send it in our internal communication platform. And I remember those first videos. For Instagram, I would have to look back. But I remember early on, my videos were like 3-5 minutes long, and I would ramble, and I didn't know I didn't have any like flow. I just had a topic. I'm gonna go. But then you learn to shorten things up and hit them with something early on in the video. But it's evolution. This is evolution. I promise you, if I got on the phone 10 years ago versus my phone skills today, it's vastly different. But I've put in the hours, I've put in the work, and so now I have a body of work, and I understand what works for me and what does not. People need to do more work.
Right. And that's exactly why I asked the question. I know exactly where my first video is. It's 16 years ago. It's on my personal YouTube channel. It's the first video all the way at the bottom. I tried to make it funny. It was during 2000, I think it was 2008 when shit was terrible, right? And it was, I thought I tried to do something funny, and horrible lighting, horrible sound. It was a blurry video, but I still look at it and say, you know what? I get it now. And I used to do all my videos off the cuff, and I seem to think they weren't bad, but I know that people looked at them and, I'm there now, right? I've done them. And it's the same thing. Same thing with phone calls, right? I mean, every time I go to make phone calls today, I get the nerves in me, right? I get that feeling of they don't want to talk to me. I'm going to be bothering them. And then it's like, then the shit just starts flowing, right? It's just a matter of doing it. I mean, it sounds very simple. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I believe that the more that you do it, you're going to build confidence, and the more confident you are, the more competent you are. But you're not going to build those two without actually doing the action, right? And John Cheplack talks about this quite a bit. Do the imperfect, consistent action, right? Do
Okay.
it scared, do it gritty, do it imperfect, versus waiting for it to be perfect and it's inconsistent. Right? That's
Right.
what I'm going to wait for it to be perfect, but that's inconsistent. Do the imperfect, consistent, gritty, scared work. That's going to win every single time. Every
Yeah, and
single time.
I don't know who said it, but good is better than perfect, or good is perfect is the evil of I don't know, good, something like that. But if it's okay, don't worry about it. Just put it out there.
Something like that.
Something like that, right? Um, it just reminds me. I mean, when shit happens and you meet somebody, all of a sudden you're going to be able to do it. Yesterday, I got a call from a guy who someone must have spoofed my phone number, and they call him, and he was calling me back as a missed call. And I said, what were they calling me? He says, I don't know. I said, well, I'm used to that. I mean, I do a lot of calls myself. I talk to a lot of people. I do calls myself. He goes, oh yeah, what do you call for? Long story short, he was selling his house. I got an appointment on Tuesday.
I mean, perfect. Perfect.
So it's just a matter of, as you do it, it starts being second nature. But as you said, the first call is always difficult.
Dave, everything that we do in real estate is a series of presentations. Everything, right?
Yes.
When you think about our phone calls, when we
Yes.
think about going to a networking event and how I'm going to introduce myself and how I'm going to get them into my ecosystem, when I do a buyer consultation, when I do a reviewing of material facts, when I review the RPA with them, when I do a listing presentation, a investor presentation, everything that we do is a series of amazing presentations. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we're not only practicing, we're rehearsing it out loud, we're speaking to ourselves, we're recording it on our phone when we're driving in traffic. So then at least when we get on the calls, we feel a little bit better and we're not blind about what to say. But now you do the thing, you start to analyze how well you've done because you have a body of work. You can't sit there and ever utter the words, I'm not good at something, unless you have a body of work. I will not accept that type of language because
Right.
it is self-defeating, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not good at that. How much of that have you actually done? None at all. So then who gave you that belief that you're not good at it?
They did. I mean, okay, so I want to talk a little bit about self-talk, because self-talk is so powerful, right? I mean, you can say affirmations are stupid and everything else. And I don't know anybody. I know people say, "Oh, you do that, huh? Do you yell in the morning and all that?" I said, "Sometimes I do."
It depends the day.
It depends how I
on the
feel. I mean,
day.
I wake up and I say, I am assured of having a great day when I get out of bed and say, today's going to be a great fucking day. I am assured of having a good day. I know that, right? And just about talking to people. I think it was Nikki Miller, you mentioned her earlier, who said that she hates talking to people in a social function. So what she's done is, it might not be her, so I just want to qualify that, but I believe she has 3, 4, or 5 questions that when she's introduced to somebody, she always asks. So what it does is it takes away her trepidation of talking to people because she's nervous, right?
Yeah.
And able to ask people questions. And there's not about business. It's not about politics. It's about the other person. They're pointed questions, of discovery questions about them, so she can get to know them a little better. We can do that on any call. We can do that on any interaction. And it's so very, very cool. And it's just, an aside, really, it's really important for people to get out and go to places where the best people are. I saw her at a Cheplack event. I've seen you through the fast forward movement. That's how we first became acquainted. And, one thing leads to another. And, watching all these broadcasts, and I want everybody to go back who's watching this broadcast, not live, but watching it now, go back to 5 minutes ago where Elias was talking about a process of what you need to do and where you need to be. Now, all this being said, you've got this program, #intensity. You've got this intensity program coming up.
It actually
today,
starts
right?
today. It starts today in a few hours.
Yeah. So talk to me about that, because your promo video, I should have downloaded it and played it right now because it's amazing, right? Talk
Thanks,
to me
man. I
about
appreciate that.
what it's all about, how it works, and why it's going to be so intense.
So I got the idea from a book called 212, and if you haven't read the book 212, then read the book 212. And it's actually tattooed on my arm, 212, and it's on a locomotive. And here's where this came from. So the book 212 talks about the temperature in which water boils, which is 212 degrees. Well, at 211 degrees, water is just hot. It's going to burn you, but it's just hot. But at 212, water boils. And when water boils, it's enough to create steam, enough steam to move a locomotive. And so I thought about that. I'm like, okay, what is the extra degree in somebody's business? And how can I help them to find that extra level of intensity? And that's what gave birth to this program. So what I wanted to do, and my inspiration from it, is how do I help somebody raise the level of intensity in their life, business, health, and relationships? And so I said, I want to turn up that notch. I want to find their 212. I want to give them that energy. I want to help them manufacture these opportunities within their life and in their energy. And so we created Intensity. Intensity is a 6-week, high-level, ultimate accountability group. No excuses, no bullshit, and results only. We come together every single week, and there's a series of metrics that everybody has to hit. Now, I'm not talking about your simple metrics. These are hard metrics. Now, you get one strike. Meaning, Dave, if you don't hit a metric, you come on the call. I see that you didn't track that. Hey, Dave, you didn't hit your metric. In the realm of possibility, could you have hit that? Yes. Are you ready to recommit? Absolutely. Wonderful. If you come on the call next week and you didn't hit a metric again, because I need perfection. Perfection. If you don't hit that metric the next week, hey, Dave, it was great having you Intensity, but I'm actually going to remove you from the group. This is officially strike 2. So thank you for being here, but we have to say goodbye to you. And then I remove you from Zoom live on the call. And I do that for a sense of accountability for everybody. I don't care what happened. We're going to have trauma. We're going to have, kids. We're going to have schedules that are all over the place. But at the end of the day, you chose to be here for Intensity. You signed up for this. You raised your hand and said, I'm going to opt in for the next 6 weeks to take my life, business, health, and relationships to the next level. So if you're willing to do that, I'm going to go full tilt with you for 6 weeks, but I need your 100% commitment, and you get one get out of jail free pass, and that's it. That's it. And so we do that for 6 weeks. The first week, we start this week, it's going to be planning, right? Well, I'm going to give everybody their metrics. But before I say go out and do these metrics, I want to make sure that you're managing your energy effectively. You're putting all these things on your calendar. You're meeting with your accountability homie. You know when you're going to be doing these activities. So the second week, that's when the metrics start. So there's no reason to say, I didn't have time, I couldn't squeeze this in. What? I gave you an entire week to plan, prep, and prepare your schedule. Get your kids, get your schedule, tell your husband, tell your wife, make sure that everything is planned out. So week 2, there is no excuses. I don't want stories. I don't want excuses. All I want is results. And that's why we came up with no excuses, no bullshit, results only. And the last time we did it, we tracked 35,000 points of data and that time was a 4-week program. And we produced, I think it was 18 transactions in that 4-week process. And right now we have 57 people signed up, and they're ready for the pain today. They're ready for the pain.
I absolutely love this. I mean, we're we're working on something that is not built on getting, on that, but it's close. I love the idea of, I mean, it's as I said, I have to look at my notes really carefully because of my eyes. Um, it's structure, it's systems, it's discipline. It's, I look at it this way. I look at our business a certain way. And I always ask this question: if you had a 9 to 5 job, what time would you get to the office? Okay. What time would you leave the office? When does your day start and when does your day end? And at the end of the week, you get a paycheck. Wouldn't it be great to get a paycheck every week in the real estate business? Isn't that what you thrive for? Personally, Elias, I believe that every agent should be getting a check on a weekly basis, just like they work their regular job. Because let's face it, this is a regular job these days, right?
Yeah.
So with intensity, I mean, I love the seriousness of it. And I know that you're starting today and the system is closed. Would you share the metrics?
So I will not share the metrics yet, but I'll give you some of the metrics because I haven't shared it with the group yet. And I
Right,
want to hold
okay.
them.
I'm sorry. I know it's
No. But I'll hold the integrity of the program. But I'll give you an example of some of the things that we're going to do. On any given week, they have to hit 50 doors, either door knock, but if they're in a place where the weather is not permitting, then they have to circle prospect, right? They just have to make the phone calls. So that's one of the metrics. That's 50 a week. They have to create 3 reels a week. One can be real estate, one can be lifestyle, and one can be personal, or no, excuse me, community, right? Hey guys, I'm out here at Tom's, bakery. They have the best scones I've ever had. Let's go take a look. Let's meet Tom. That's a community. One is a real estate related. It could be interest rates. It could be new dev. It could be, an update on the housing market in a specific area. And the other one is lifestyle. The mom on the go, the dad on the go, the gym workout routine, whatever that is. So they have to have 3. And the rule is they have to have their voice and their face in those videos. 3 a week. 3 a week, no matter what, hell or high water. That's one of the metrics. Another metric is we're all reading this book together. Limitless by Jim Quick. And what's great about this is that they have to, the first week, calendar 25 minutes a day of reading this book. And it's not the Audible. Silas, put that. It is not the Audible. It is actually reading the book and then doing all of the exercises. So now every time we come on a call weekly, we can do a quick download and be like, okay, Dave, tell me about what your takeaways were from chapter 1, chapter 2, whatever the case is. So I've already read ahead. So I'll know if people are on pace or if they're not. And I'll know based on their behaviors, the things that they're saying, the things that they're doing, if they're applying the techniques in this book. So that's a non-negotiable. They have to also preview 15 homes every single week. I don't care where they are. I don't care if it's in a condo, single family residences, whatever it is. They have to preview those homes every single week so they understand the inventory, they understand design aesthetics, they understand what's trending, and then they're documenting that journey along the way, along with a bunch of other metrics. But those are some of the core metrics. And I'm so excited to read this book together because we're going to be developing our understanding of neuroscience. We're going to be understanding how to read, how to learn, how to understand things at a very high level in a quicker time frame. So I'm really excited about this session.
Thank you for sharing that. I know it was an ask to ask that question, but I had to because I'm selfish and I wanted to know what they were for myself. Okay.
I'll send it to you today too. I'll send you the whole slide deck so you can see it. You can use it, and if you ever need help with that running it, just let me know.
Thank you. So I want to talk about 2 things. Jim Quick's going to be second. The other one is the word commitment, and you use something that I have used for a long time, and I don't know where you got it, but I'm going to guess that you got it from John, right? Have you fulfilled your commitment for this week? If not, what held you back? For all intents and purposes, are you able to would you have been able to do it? Yes, I would have. Are you ready to recommit? 4 questions, 5 questions, sometimes there's 7 questions. But the idea of commitment is so important because you have to have, in my opinion, you've got to develop some type of discipline or self-discipline to be able to commit to what you're doing. I believe that once you commit, it gives you everything else you need to do it. Is there a bridge to build from saying you have the discipline to actually doing the commitment and actually committing and doing that commitment? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me make sure I understand the question. Say it one more time for me.
So the question really is, I am committed to doing X. 90% of the people will not do X, even though they said they're committed. So, what's the bridge, or is it a feeling? Is it a discipline that had to be learned in order to fulfill that commitment?
Yeah, and I think that there's a really deep emotional connection with this, and it's very simple. If somebody wants to grow and they want to achieve bigger things in their life and in their business, they need to dismantle the idea of I should do this, right? I made a commitment and I should do this. I should make my calls, I should do this, I
Good.
should go to the office, I should. It's you have to remove the word should and say this is a must. When I say that this is a must, I must do this for my family. I must do this to in order for me to be able to live the lifestyle I want. I must do this in order for me to have a sense of freedom. I must do this to build my confidence. I must do this because I told my mom that she'll never have to struggle again. I must do this because I owe it to the people that are in my environment to show up for them and to be the best person I possibly can, to set an example. I must do this to help people find the optimal in themselves when the optimal in themselves is very, very hard for them to find. I must do these things. When you say the word must, you have a sense of, wow, I'm more connected with it. A should is, maybe I will, maybe I won't. But you want to grow in business, you remove every single should with a must and you show up and you have the discipline to stay consistent. And that's the recipe to success in this business. If you can create a vision and be so aligned with that vision and then have the discipline to stay consistent, imperfect, everything will change. The reason why people fail in this business is because they're inconsistent and they lack discipline. And if
Yep.
you could just fix those two things right there, I promise you, all things will change in this business. All things will change.
Oh, without question. Without question. I want to read, if I can find it quickly, because I wrote it down and I can't read it too well. Here it is. And this has to do with Jim Quick in the book Limitless. Most people are sincerely interested in doing something they should do, but they don't do it because they consider it a preference, not a promise.
Whew.
I think that's one of the greatest quotes, and it reminds me of a stupid joke or riddle or whatever it is. I don't know what you call it, or it's what's the difference between when you see bacon and eggs? What's the difference between the pig and the chicken?
What?
The chicken is interested, the pig is committed.
Ah, okay.
So I think about that, and I say that to people and say, huh? Well, think about it. I mean, here's the thing, man. Commitment is probably one of the most difficult things to follow through on, and it has to do with building a self-discipline. Discipline is a skill. I don't know how to teach discipline. I just know that, getting back to what we started this broadcast with, is tell me more about that and understanding what your purpose is. And then you'll understand what you just said. I must, whatever. And
Yep.
I love that line. And I honestly will be replaying the part you just talked about and using that personally every day, because it really is going to push me. I'm always looking for ways to push myself because I get stuck every fucking day. I know what my issues are, right? Is it attention? I don't know. I've only been doing it a million years. So, it's just like, what the hell, Elias, I want to thank you so much for being a part of this great system and stuff that we do here at Real Estate Skill Builder and Align. I mean, this is a broadcast that I do out of love and giving back to people. And I just enjoy doing it. And, you make it so easy to have a conversation, and we could go on for hours. And it's just been, you've been a blessing to me and to this broadcast. Thank you so much for being on today.
Well, I appreciate your light, man. And I say this, and I don't say it lightly. There's people in this industry that want to be a light for other people, that want to be a beacon, that want to provide hope, that want to bring this community together, that want to create business intimacy and proximity. And we're all human beings, right? There's probably only a couple hours in your day that are separating you from somebody else that you aspire to be like, right? And I want you to think about that. And I talked to Nikki Miller the other day. I actually had her as a guest coach. And I was really moved by something she said, like, go back to your day one mentality. And if you look at the Jeff Bezos, you can go to Forbes right now and download the article. And Jeff Bezos talked about it in a shareholders letter about the day one philosophy. Every single person that will watch this or is watching it now needs to go back to that day one philosophy, meaning that when you started out in this industry, what did you do then that maybe you're not doing now? How would you show up? How would you obsess about the consumer journey? How would you obsess about the phone calls and the follow-up? And you treated every lead like it was the only lead that you ever had. But somewhere along the way, you allowed complacency to creep in that took you off of the vision of the day one mentality. Might be on day two or maybe day three. You need to go back to the day one. Find that drive and that energy and that passion to be able to say, how can I obsess over the consumer journey right now? And how do I need to be different? And if you put yourself in that mentality, you're going to show up differently for your life and for your business. Day one mentality.
That is really it. And one of the things I also look at is the excitement. You know, the same thing you just said. It's also excitement as well. And it does work. I mean, Bill Pipe says every time I'm alive, I'm excited, I'm full of energy. And that's day one excitement, which is really cool. Two things and we're done. Thank you so much for your time. The most important question I have for you for the entire broadcast is, how can I help you grow your business?
You know what? Let's do more of these things, man. You can help me by, let's have a behind the curtains conversation about how you set up this entire podcast. Would love to learn from you and maybe do something like this on my own one day and create my own podcast. So love what you've done here. I love the organization of it. I love the preparation of it. I love the video in the beginning. So probably be picking your brain on that.
No worries, man. Anything I can do for you, all you have to do is say, hey, Dave, need a minute. And you got it. And last but not least, you got one before in episode 208, and now you get the blue one, the new blue one, man. I want to thank you. This is for you. I want to thank you for being on today. Next week, we have Brian Speciate coming on, who's president of Realty Forte, a division of hospitality marketing, a little bit different aside of marketing. It's going to be a cool broadcast. We have Elias's stuff being shown here. Elias, if you just stayed on for a minute as we go off, everybody, thank you so much. God bless everybody and have a great day. God bless it. Hit it, Nelson. Hey.